Mike? It's okay? Okay. So we're doing a presentation about how architecture in Saudi Arabia and the landscape have spoken language together. We are primarily going to talk about the landscape and the architecture in context to the space that you're actually sitting in now. This stage that you see right now was designed as a tribute to the landscape and the architecture. What do we think about first when we actually think about Saudi Arabia, the entire region, and the first thing that comes to your mind is the spectacular landscape of the place? What else defines the landscape is that it's almost entirely always changing. What that brings to mind is that the only element of the region that impresses us? But for us as designers, something that kind of entices us even more than what we talk about is the desert at night. And we feel the whole idea of the desert at night enhances the chance of actually having conversations because of the silence that's part of the landscape. How do we kind of think this has helped? A big part of the development that Saudi Arabia has seen in the past and going towards the future is the fact that there have been conversations and collaborations that have led to where we are today. The quiet has allowed for loud conversations. The conversations that have led to collaborations where people have sat together, people have come up with ideas on how to make life better, how to take things towards the future, and this has been an integral part of the place we are at today. We don't think the revolution started today, but we feel we are right now in the middle of the revolution. We feel that the vision for 2030 is only a small step away because of the massive steps that we've taken in the past. What Saudi Arabia has given all of us is great hope in the vision of the future. Avant-garde architecture, basically experimental design, the ability to take risks, and this all comes from the leaders who actually worked tirelessly over the past many years, and everybody who's come down to the region and has actually contributed to the growth and the future of the region. You can see architecture in the region that sometimes shocks you, sometimes tries to mimic nature, sometimes tries to play hide and seek with you, while there are times when it actually tries to give you the best possible vantage of the region that you're in. But there isn't one thing that architecture in the region, and especially in Saudi Arabia, cannot achieve. And the one thing that we've learned from the ability of the leaders of the region and the people who come in here, the architects, the thought leaders, the investors, is that we can never say no to what is possible. So one of the things that we really thought was important for us was to pay tribute to what was happening in the region for the past many years, and also to point towards the future of the region. I had spoken about the desert in the night and why it was so important for us, because there was a certain sense of quiet. There was a certain sense of modesty about it. This modesty basically took us towards conversations that helped. If you look at the stage around you, we've not done the stage to actually become the topic, but it's basically the canvas for where you're sitting in and talking. The one-on-ones that have happened over the past few years, these actually are going to take us toward the future. And our kind of design for the stage was only kind of like a platform for it. We've called our stage Soulscape. The whole reason for calling it Soulscape was we felt the desert was nothing without the people in it, and the people of the region are nothing without the desert. The whole idea behind calling it Soulscape also was that the vision of the future, the vision of 2030, means absolutely nothing if it wasn't for the people who are actually working towards giving it life. And hence the idea of Soulscape. The whole design of the stage that you see around you was meant to be invisible. The idea of the stage was meant to feel like it was shifting. The idea of the stage was meant to feel like you could actually walk past the entire stage and see the insides in many different ways from many different frames. If you look at the entire contour, there is not a single point where the height is kind of consistent and stays the same. It also caters to the fact that everybody experiencing the hospitality show or index comes from different backgrounds, different demographies, different body types, and the whole idea that we are open and we are welcoming everybody to the region. The very entrance that I walked through and all of you have walked through and many times during this event, this was meant to make you feel invited. This was meant to suck you into the conversations that are being had here. Many of you have been a part of the conversation either on the stage or as part of the audience, but all of us will leave from here as part of a larger group that has grown with experience. The other key part of this experience was to also tell you that the minute you came into this stage, the minute you came into the venue, you were in a safe space. This space was meant to allow exchange. You don't have to be shy. You don't have to be timid about your thoughts, because that is not the vision for Saudi Arabia. The vision for Saudi Arabia is bold. The vision for 2030 is supposed to be out there. Anything that you can imagine, somebody is going to make it work. And the idea of behind the stage, the entrance and everything that you see around here was precisely that. How did we basically make this happen? How did we come to a point where we could construct something like this? Like the region and like the avant-garde architecture that is developed here, we too had to use technologies, we had to use parametric modeling, we had to use a lot of techniques. I'd like to invite my friend and colleague Amit, who's part of the team that actually built the space. I'd like to invite him to the stage. Amit, if you can tell a bit about the challenges that we faced when you were actually building this here.
Sure. First of all, thank you, Vijay, for getting me here. About the production, I would say, first of all, the motivation that we came up while after having the look at the design, like the curves and contours that we got from the basic discussion of the design, was the motivation which connected us to the ancient stories of the desert. Then the team was briefed about how the production should initiate, and as you look in these pictures, all the contours are plotted as per the parametric design that was made by the team. And then one by one we started plotting all the counters, and as you can see around, the space was developed to the canvas that it's around us today. That's all.
Thank you so much. So one thing to remember, and we keep saying this about the architecture that people see in the region, whatever you see here as architecture, whatever you see here as futuristic technologies, did not happen at the first attempt. There was years and years of research, a lot of people doing a lot of effort in this, a lot of mistakes made to get to the place where now we have things that are believable, things that are actually reasonable, and when the rest of the world was doubting what we could do, we were actually building it. If you look at what I'm showing here, these are probably one of the many prototypes that were built within a very short period of time to actually get us to a point where we could say what we would build here would actually mimic what we wanted to tell, the whole story of the desert. The other thing that was very important about doing something like this was the whole idea of being in the desert. If all of us have been here for a long time, all of us have been in the desert, the one thing that we all remember is that the desert does not shout for attention. The desert allows you to be a part of it. The landscape of the region allows you to become a part of it and then allows you to grow from there. The whole idea behind the stage and everything, if you see inside, we have no lights inside, everything is at the floor level. On the outside is where we are attracting people to come in. The idea is, again, to be quiet, to be subtle, not to be intimidating, and like the desert, be and become a part of the people who live in this region. And for all of us who've been here for a long amount of time or who've just arrived, this is something that we will constantly be learning from the desert. It changes, it allows people to be a part of it, and while it is doing that, it also allows for incredible things to grow out of it. I'm sorry for the face in the photo, but we were quite incredibly pleased that we could actually achieve what we had set out to do. There was a lot of man-hours that went into it, but the best part about this was that we, like you can see at this moment, were able to allow viewing of this stage and the people around it from all different vantage points, from behind the stage, from the side of the stage, from the other side, and of course from people sitting there. And the other part of it is that while we were here for the past 2 or 3 days, we've interacted with a lot of people here. And we kept facing the same question. Why did we come up with something that was complicated? Why did we have to come up with a design that was difficult to build? Why did we think we should take the path of more difficulty? And again, we go back to the concept that we spoke about. This was not about being difficult. This was not about being complicated. This was about the fact that we wanted to prove a point. And the point was, once you decide you want to create something incredible, the only thing that stops you from doing that is yourself. We received incredible support from the organizers from the event. We've of course seen a lot of support from the region for everything that we've been doing here and will do in the future. And this stage basically emphasizes exactly that. Now for a small kind of moment of reflection, if you look around you, not inside but outside, and everybody that you've met in the past 2 or 3 days, when we first arrived here on day 1, we didn't know so many people. We had friends and we had people who we didn't know. Across the past 3 days, all of us have consciously or unconsciously become collaborators. We've all become a part of this journey. We've all become investors in the progress of this region. The whole idea behind the stage, behind Index itself, and behind all of us coming together is that we can actually communicate and move forward together. We might all have different strengths and abilities, but the minute we hold hands, we're all working toward the same goal. And the larger picture, of course, and which is the most powerful force that is active here, is that we are all on the same ride, we are all on the same journey, and we are all working towards the vision of 2030. Somebody asked me a little earlier on another panel, why would you think somebody wanted to invest in Saudi Arabia? Or why do you think this is an opportune moment to be a part of this journey? And my question was, why not? The entire world is looking towards Saudi Arabia. Everybody who's an expert at almost everything is here at this moment. There are people who are experts at architecture, urban design, interior design, lighting, hospitality, furniture, absolutely everything that you need to create a completely new world. And we are all here primarily because of the goal, and there is nothing that we can do but be a part of what's happening. And I'd like to thank all of you for being here for the past 3 days, everybody who's passed by this stage, everybody who's been a part of this experience, everybody who's been on this stage or absolutely any stages in Index. Because, like I said, I really hope that probably tomorrow, probably day after tomorrow, we'll all be sitting together in a room, working on projects together. So thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you.